Well, Pope Francis is in his 10th day in the hospital, now dealing with complications from pneumonia in both lungs. Cardinal Timothy Dolan says the Pope is very fragile and probably close to death. As much as I joke about praying on the weather, I know a lot of people are praying for His Holiness right now. Dr. John Coleman joins us again. He is a pulmonary and critical care specialist at Northwestern Medicine. He's going to give us some perspective. Good morning, doctor. It's good to see you.
Morning, Tanya. How are you?
Good, thank you. So over the weekend, the Pope had a prolonged respiratory crisis. Can you tell us, what does that mean?
Sure. So a respiratory crisis means I think the Pope was struggling to breathe, right? He was struggling to get air in, and so probably using a lot of the accessory muscles in his body, his shoulders and his belly, to really feel like he could get a breath in more effectively.
And so now he's using high flow oxygen. What does that look like? Is it something that's worrisome?
Absolutely. So oxygen is commonly used in a hospital, but the fact that he's escalated to high flow oxygen, which is a higher level of support in a hospital situation, is very concerning.
And then is that just the tube under the nose? Is that how that's administered?
Sure. So commonly what we see is the two little prongs. High flow is a little bit bigger and it blows air at a much faster rate so people can breathe more effectively.
I get it. Well, we've heard that sepsis is a concern. What is sepsis and how common is it in cases of pneumonia?
So sepsis is when you start to see early organ injury or organ failure associated with an infection. And pneumonia is a very common infection to cause sepsis. And so when you start to see issues like renal failure or renal injury, that's concerning for early onset sepsis.
Well, then that brings us to this subject here. There are conflicting reports about the Pope's kidneys. We know that they are struggling in some capacity. What kind of strain does pneumonia put on the kidneys, or might there be something else at play here?
So I think this is probably related to his infection. So the kidneys are a very sensitive organ. And so as soon as someone starts to get an infection that starts to affect their whole body, the kidneys are one of the first organs to really take a hit. And so I think what we're seeing in that early kidney injury that they're describing is that this is probably related to his pneumonia. And hopefully it will turn around, but it's not uncommon to see kidney injury associated with pneumonia.
Do you anticipate the Pope will be in the hospital for quite some time?
So my concern with the Pope is that he's been in the hospital for 10 days and has had escalating oxygen requirements, and now we're starting to see this early kidney injury. So with his age and his fragile state, I suspect that this is a rapidly evolving situation and that we're really going to see this in more of an hours to days than a days to weeks improvement.
Well, I know the updates mean a lot to the folks at home viewing and to those who are praying for the Pope. Thank you, Dr. Coleman, for your time and expertise.
Thank you, Tanya.
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC7 Chicago Eyewitness News.